Hello and welcome back, I am Garion Reaver and this is the Solland Uprising Mighty Empires campaign, and we are back on the campaign map after fighting the second round of battles. If you haven't seen them, they will be linked in the description, you should go check those out. We've now done a total of 6 battles, and in this video we'll be going into the third campaign turn. First, we give victory points based on the wins and losses from the second round of battles. So if you haven't seen them, this is your last chance to go and check before getting spoilers of who wins. The first battle was between the Skull Smashers and the Empire, and it resulted in the Empire winning with a narrow victory. So the Skull Smashers get a single Empire point, which they'll be spending in this video. But the Empire don't get theirs right now because they actually fought 2 battles against the Skull Smashers and Sylvania and Death Toll, and the Empire points they get is an average of what they would get from the 2 separate battles. So to address their other one, they also fought against Sylvania and Clan Death Toll in a team battle, and the Empire lost, giving Death Toll and Sylvania a narrow victory each. So Sylvania gets 3 Empire points for a narrow victory, but Clan Death Toll actually gets 5, because they picked the all or nothing event this turn, which means they get an additional 2 points if they didn't draw or lose, which they didn't, they got a narrow victory. So they actually get 5. And as the Empire now has a narrow victory and a loss, that is a total of 4 Empire points over 2 battles, giving them an average of 2 Empire points. And the last battle was Wissenland versus the Solland Revivalists, which Wissenland won with a massacre, earning them 5 Empire points, and Solland won. Next we go through in turn order, denoted by the cards, the order that was decided at the start of the turn, and they can spend their points. And Empire points do not carry over, so they need to spend all of them or they will lose some. Solland is going to claim their first tile, which they have not claimed so far. They've had a very bad campaign so far, but they're claiming the river tile for 1 point, because they have the land grab event, meaning the first tile they claim costs 1 instead of 2. The Skull Smashers are next, and as they only have 1 Empire point, they cannot claim a tile, they cannot afford to, so instead they're going to raid. This instantly earns them 2d6 in gold, which can be spent to improve their future battles, 8. And to remind you how much this is worth, 1 gold gives them an extra 10 points in a battle, up to a maximum of 250 extra if they spend 25 gold. Next is the Empire with their 2 points. They are going to claim a tile as well, a river one, because river ones are valuable for mines and such. Clan Death Toll is doing pretty well on 5, and they are going to spend 3 of those to claim a mountain, because claiming a mountain costs an extra 1. So total of 3 for a mountain. They are then going to build on the mountain to produce a mine there. There. And then they are also going to raid for another 1. And they get, oh wow, a total of 4 gold. But they already have 10 in stock, so they're doing alright for gold actually. My mistake, sorry, the 10 gold was what they spent, that's why it was down there. I had to go and look at these, and it's like, where did I put the gold? Did I mark it? Yeah, I did. So yes, they actually spent 10 gold, so they just have 4 now. Wissenland, with their 5 points, are going to claim, first of all, Fieldorf, which is a city, and will therefore give them quite a boost in some ways. And I thought this would cost 3, because it has a city, but it's only conquering a city costs 3. They will also then claim this river, and they are pushing towards Solland and trying to sort of solidify their land. And that leaves Wissenland with a single point, which they will use to raid. And because I like to say who's raiding where, Skull Smashers are raiding, obviously, the Empire. Clan Death Toll are raiding, the Empire. Wissenland, however, they're going to raid the Skull Smashers, because there's not really much point raiding their own lands like that, which is how they see Solland. Has no mechanical difference, but is fun for the roleplay. And they get 3. Yep, okay, they're probably not going to raid the Skull Smashers again. They do not have much in the way of money. But that brings them up to a total of 6 gold. And finally, Sylvania is the last faction. They have 3 victory points. They are going to claim a tile, and then they are going to build on the tile. Because you can build a mine on a river, so they're going to build a mine on their newly claimed river. Like so. So they're building a profitable little empire there. Let's check in with the characters and see how they stand after round 2 of battles. From the first battle we have General Anselm Uthman from Reichland. He is alive and well, as is Folk Bar, the battle wizard. Priest Rosin, however, was killed by a biggun boss. No chance of survival. On the opposing side, Ugrok Cracktooth, the leader of the Skull Smashers tribe, was killed by Reiksguard with his wyvern. He is dead. Omdok the Mad was killed by a miscast. Zarge the Zoblin, the Night Goblin big boss, was injured and is out for one turn, and he is now the de facto leader of the Skull Smashers tribe unless another orc comes up in the meantime. And Kiskir Ramshackle, the Night Goblin shaman, was also injured and is also out for one turn. Boglin the Giant was also killed by Reiksguard, but yeah, he's dead. In the Solland Wissenland battle, Siegfried Trappenfeld, the Grand Master of the Knights of the Blazing Sun, was wounded and captured. He is unlikely to be released anytime soon, so he's effectively out of the campaign unless Nuln is captured by someone sympathetic to his cause. Captain Bruno Kral was killed by halberdiers. He is dead. But Gevig Fischer, the battle wizard, is alive and well. In the Aveland vs Death Toll and Sylvania battle, General Sigmar Braum was injured and is out for one turn. Battle wizard Arnold Pfeiffer was also injured, again for one turn, whereas Erwin Rieger is alive and well. In Clan Death Toll, Bilefroth is still feeling very good and is very happy on top of his slightly rickety plague furnace. Whereas Damir von Carstein of Sylvania, the vampire turned by Mannfred himself, was killed by Sigmar Braum. Squire, the White King raised by Damir, was also killed by Sigmar. Helmut the Lucky, against his name, was injured by Sigmar Trappenfeld and is out of the game for 2 turns. But as a turn has now passed, Cruiser of Clan Death Toll has healed up and is active again, as is Priest Culper of Wissenland. So they may show up again in upcoming battles. Now to reset the board before we go into campaign turn 3. The board is reset and everybody's empire size is now updated. Skull Smashers are on 2, Empire on 3, Sylvania on 5, Death Toll on 4, Solland on 2, and Wissenland on 6. And this affects the turn order, starting with the smallest size. There is Solland and the Skull Smashers both tied on 2. So we will roll a dice to see which goes first. 1, 2, 3 Skull, 4, 5, 6 Solland. Solland is first up. Skull Smashers second, and then the others are pretty sorted. Empire is third, Death Toll is fourth, Sylvania is fifth, and Wissenland, being the largest current empire, is last. Note that that is just last in the turn order and not in rankings, obviously. As we go into campaign turn 3, it is time to choose events. They choose them in the order of the turn. And Solland is going to be going with Building Boom, which allows them to place a castle or mine on any tile immediately. And this lets them immediately place a mine on this river to get them some much needed revenue. Skull Smashers, there's pretty much only one that they can go for, and that is land grab. Meaning they only need 1 point in order to secure some land, as they have no extra tiles. The Empire are going with Fool's Gold against Sylvania, which means they cannot earn any revenue from either of the mines they have. Clan Death Toll are using Diplomacy on Sylvania, meaning they cannot issue a challenge, and this is Clan Death Toll saying, look, we know all of the people you sent to help us died, but here's a little bit of the loot, now just sort of leave us be. Sylvania will take Scouts, which means in any battles this turn, the opponent must deploy their entire army first, and then Sylvania will get the first turn. And Wissenland, without much to pick from, I didn't really use Elite Army, so we'll go for Disaster at Solland, because why not? Disaster means you roll a d6 for each city, mine, and castle. They have these two, and on a 1, it is destroyed. First of all, the mine. Nope. And the castle. Nope. Worth a try. Next is the revenue phase, where they get revenue for any mines they have that aren't currently affected by Fool's Gold, like Sylvania's are. So that is Solland, Wissenland, and Clan Death Toll. They get 2d6 gold if they're on a river, and they get 3d6 if they're on a mountain, which is why it's more expensive to claim a mountain. And in this case, this is counted as a river. First of all, Solland, 2d6 for their mine, they get 6 more gold. Which is all the gold they have at the moment. Clan Death Toll get 3d6. Ooh, a total of 14. I think I see that mountains are much, much more profitable than rivers. I'm going to be taking that into account in future turns because, wow, 18 gold. And 2d6 for Wissenland, they get 7. To add to the 6 they already have for a total of 13. And the final step is challenges, again in turn order, starting with Solland. They don't want to fight Wissenland again. They are actually going to challenge Clan Death Toll, as they've noticed them sort of encroaching on Averland land, and their scouts have sort of noticed them a bit, so they are going to challenge Clan Death Toll, meaning Death Toll can't challenge. It's a bit of a risky challenge, as Death Toll have 18 gold, a potential of 180 extra points. The Skull Smashers, they are annoyed about being raided by Wissenland, so they are going to be challenging Wissenland, meaning Wissenland cannot challenge, so yeah, Solland aren't going to be challenged by them anyway. Likewise, this is very much punching up, as Wissenland is currently far in the lead and has more gold as well. This is the first time the Empire has actually been able to issue a challenge, and although Wissenland is currently under attack, by far the biggest threat is Sylvania, so they are going to challenge Sylvania, meaning Sylvania cannot challenge. So those are our 3 fights. We have Solland versus Clan Death Toll, we have Skull Smashers versus Wissenland, and the Empire versus Sylvania. And this is where the Empire size comes into effect. You see, the largest empire gets an additional 300 points to any battles. So I'm using it to denote this. So Wissenland will get a free 100 points in their battle against Skull Smashers. This hasn't come in earlier because there have always been ties for the largest, but now it is unequivocally Wissenland. And again, the rules are a bit unclear about whether, like, people spend gold in order, or whether it's something that you sort of do live in front of the other so the other knows what you're doing. And I'm inclined to say that, for fairness, it's irrelevant because, you know, it's just me. But that is to say that Solland doesn't have to predict how much of their wealth Clan Death Toll is going to spend. They're probably not inclined to spend much, because they don't really stand to lose anything here. Solland hasn't proven themselves particularly dangerous. And Solland kind of wants to hold on to their gold as well, so neither of them are going to spend any. Up here, Skull Smashers and Wissenland. Skull Smashers have to put in basically all of their gold to stand a chance of breaking even, which they're still not going to. That's only giving them an extra 80. Wissenland, I think, is going to put in 5 to get that overwhelming number, which, bit unfair maybe, but, you know, oh well, that's how the game works. So they have a total of 150 extra compared to their 80 extra. And the Empire and Sylvania, they both have the same amount of gold. I don't think either of them is really willing to put it in for this, because there's not much point if you can't, like, overwhelm, or unless you're trying to drain their stock, but it would also drain Sylvania's. Then again, they do have the mines, but they keep getting the mines shut down. No, they're going to hold on to their gold, so neither of them are going to put in any either. I've decided I'm going to start mixing up the points values now to fit the kind of battles that are happening. Solland and Death Toll. Death Toll's sort of sending more of a scouting party, and Solland isn't in a good position, so I think they'll just have a 1,500 point battle. And as long as, you know, it's balanced between the two of them, you know, gold notwithstanding, then it's still fair in my eyes. Skull Smashers and Wissenland are also not in a great position, but Skull Smashers is probably doing slightly better than Solland, so they'll have a 2,000, but Wissenland, of course, gets an extra 150. And Empire and Sylvania, they're both doing rather well. Although the Empire isn't doing phenomenally on the board, they are still the Empire. So I think this will be a 2,500 point match. So again, that's 1,500, 2,000, and 2,500. Of course, because victories is determined by percentages, that's still sort of easily done. So yeah, let me know what you think of that sort of thing, mixing it up within a single turn, or whether you think they should all be won. Yeah, I'm going to try and stay one battle ahead of the releases, just so that I'm not editing right down to the wire. But apart from that, I would love to hear your feedback. And that concludes this campaign video. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to check out the 3 upcoming battles of the Mighty Empires Campaign Turn 3, between Solland and Death Toll, Skull Smashers and Wissenland, and the Empire and Sylvania. So thank you very much for watching, be sure to subscribe for more board games, card games, miniatures like this, and TTRPGs, and I will catch you later.